I think having that added responsibility now of being responsible for a debit card is really important too. I feel like it adds that extra layer of just, I don't know, growth for them. My kids definitely felt like big kids getting their debit card and being able to use it.
Greetings, neighbors. Welcome to another episode of the Perfect Sense podcast. I'm your host, Alex Becerra. Today, I am really excited for our conversation because we're talking about building financial confidence early. If you are a parent, if you've got kids, and you're maybe wondering how to start building positive money relationships and behaviors, this is going to be a great episode for you. I am once again welcoming back my friend, Marcie Johnson. So good to have you back, Marcie. How have things been?
Good. It's good to be back. Thanks for having me.
It's almost summertime. You got any exciting plans?
I think we're going to try to go to Morro Bay for 4th of July. But other than that, I think we'll try to do some weekend trips.
I know. We were just talking in my household about we haven't been to the beach in too long. We got to make a drive to the coast, and there's nothing like it. I feel like it's the best way to sort of just humble yourself.
Right. Well, but I mean, the kids have summer vacation. You still have to work. So
yeah, for sure. So it's great to have you back on. If folks listen to our first episode, they're probably well aware that you and I are both parents. We have children that are pretty close to the same age range. And I'm really excited to have you here for this conversation because one thing that SAFE did probably last year is introduce this idea of family banking and try to make banking more accessible to some of our younger members. So I'm curious if you could just tell us why is it so important to sort of introduce banking and good money behaviors to kids, particularly when they're young?
yeah, giving them that introduction, especially having a debit card earlier on, everything is moving to a technological era. So just making sure that they have that debit card and they can start forming good habits now will help them when they become an adult. So logging into online banking, seeing their transactions as they're doing them, seeing how much money they have in their bank account, because a lot of times people aren't carrying cash nowadays. I don't know how many times I had an IOU for my kids because they did a chore and I was like, I don't have any cash. I know we had discussed at one point that I did open up a checking account finally for my kids and got them a debit card. It has made life so much easier because I can just transfer them the money and now they can use their card. And I just feel like it's going to set them up for success as they start getting jobs and direct deposits and adding more things on top of it. This is just a small piece that they can get down now. But as they start growing and getting jobs and stuff, that's just going to add more stuff to it. So they'll be experts by the time that comes along, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's funny because I work so much out in the community doing financial education workshops and talking to folks. A lot of working adults that's sort of my target audience. But there's so often times where I am having a conversation with somebody and a lot of people have sort of complicated relationships with how they deal with money. And a lot of it, I find, stems from their very earliest experiences when it comes to money. And I love how you mentioned that it's nice as a parent to be able to have an active role in sort of creating the narrative around that and hopefully starting to demystify some things that before, I feel definitely in our generation, I don't know if your household was like mine, but I always had a feeling that we were doing pretty well. There was never really a time that felt particularly hardship or economically uncertain. But my parents also never really had conversations about money. And I find that's sort of a sea change over time, as I feel now with so many interactive tools and resources, it makes it a lot more accessible to be there as a parent and help coach your kids through these experiences.
Right. Well, and I feel like it makes it even more important now with everything that is available to our members to be able to access their funds. It's easier now because kids learn pretty quickly. I don't know. My kid picks up things relatively quick. Yeah. So having them learn the basics now is just super important so that they can have that success down the line.
Yeah.
It's
funny. I had a conversation with Marcus a few weeks ago and we were talking about fintechs, financial technology companies versus, your credit union benefits. And I think that's another way that SAFE has sort of asserted itself as a leader in this space is because yes, there are a lot of technological tools in the banking space that probably are marketed towards kids. But I do think it's nice to have sort of a balance between like, yes, Safe has a lot of interactive digital tools, but then, you also can have that experience, if your kid is trying to deposit money, you can bring them into a local branch and have that like personal experience as well. I think it's nice for them and for us to sort of have a holistic approach to like, yes, it's very accessible, it's very easy to use, but also we're here in your backyard so you can get to like learn what those interactions are like. Now, you have mentioned this, right? With your kids, you did go ahead and open up a checking account. I did that with my 6-year-old as well. And that was like a big deal at Safe because like historically kids were not eligible to have checking accounts until they hit age 13. And then last year, when we sort of relaunched the family banking initiative, we moved that threshold down to 6 years old.
Yeah.
So my older son does have a checking account. My younger son just has a savings account. But specifically in that realm, like what would you say the benefits are of having a checking account for your kiddos?
Um, I mean, I think as a kid, even as an adult, you learn better by doing. So having that checking account early, teaching them how to use the debit card. You had mentioned, having your kid go up to the ATM. Well, when I opened up the account for my kids, we actually took them. They had a bunch of cash because they had all of their allowance saved up in cash. We took them to the ATM machine and had them deposit their funds. So it was just really nice for them to be able to experience that and to be able to learn like that wasn't something that they've been able to do. They see mom and dad using their card all the time,
Yeah.
but actually being able to do it, it was just kind of neat to see them do that.
Yeah, and it's really exciting for me because, like, I even have family members and stuff. They'll ask, we're coming up on a birthday pretty soon here, and they're like, "Do the kids already have accounts?" I'm like, "Yes, as a matter of fact, they do." But it's great, like, when those instances happen and maybe they do get money in the form of a gift. Like, we have their piggy banks at home, but I think it's very rewarding for them when they've felt it building up, building up, building up. Now it's like, okay, let's go put it in your account. And my almost 7-year-old, especially, like, he's always itching to spend what's in his checking account. And I just remind him, buddy, you are in savings mode right now. Like the more you let it grow, the more you can kind of do things that you might really want to do as opposed to just like that sort of short term instant gratification.
Right. Yeah. No, my son who actually just turned 9, he had all of his cash in like a jar. And I before we deposited, I swear like every day he would go in there and he'd be pulling out his money and recounting it. And I'm just like, You don't know how much money you have. You counted it so many times." So
Yeah.
just having the capability to deposit in the account, know it's there. He can now see how much money he has. He doesn't have to recount it multiple times to
Yeah.
see how much. It's just made life a lot easier for us.
Yeah. And like, especially with like digital tools, I think, in this digital age where things move very quickly and like most people are spending their money either like through cards or through online shopping and things like that. I think maybe for the younger generation, it's hard for them to really grasp like the value of a dollar. And so I think again, it's nice for them to sort of have that more classic feeling of like, okay, I'm building up, I'm saving, and then they can put it into their checking account. And to your point, right? Like the tools are there to help them understand and help you understand as a parent, like, okay, here's what we're working with, right? If we are going to go out and spend, we can sort of build a budget around that. And again, just kind of reinforce those like positive behaviors.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to throw myself under the bus here, not on a positive behavior side, but I did take my daughter shopping. And the nice thing about having my bank account was safe and then her bank account was safe was that when she went to go check out, we realized she was spending the tax got her a little bit more than she had in her checking account. But because I'm on her account, I could just go into the app and I was able to quickly transfer her money to be able to use it. So, uh, yes, she needs to know how much she has and take into consideration that tax addition that's there. But it was just a very easy process for me to go in and transfer a little bit more money so that she can get what she wanted.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No hard feelings. I mean, I'm well into my 30s and even I don't like paying tax. So as we're talking about checking accounts, right? One of the main sort of tools in a checking account is having access to that debit card. And so can you just speak a little bit more to like what are the benefits for kids to have that access to a debit card?
Yeah, I think the biggest benefit is they don't have to carry around cash. I think one of the harder parts with cash is you lose your cash. it's gone.
Yeah.
You're not going to get it back. You lose your card, somebody picks it up and uses your card, you're covered. You can file a dispute. You can get your funds back. So there's that big aspect of it, that extra security that having a debit card covers you if you lose it. And cash, absolutely not. If it's gone, it's gone, unfortunately. I think additionally, it's an ease of use. My daughter was super excited. It made her feel grown up. She was able to go, I think it was a few weeks back, she was able to go and get, oh, what is that called? Boba.
Mm.
I don't know if your kids are into boba, but my daughter loves boba. And she went with her friend, and I was there with them, and she had her debit card. She was like, "No, Mom, I want to buy the boba for me and my friend." And she was able to go up there, order, and then use her card. They even had her sign. And then after they had her sign, she came back to the table because I let her do it all herself. And she was like, "Mom, I got to sign my name. I don't think I've ever got to do it." So I just feel like giving her that opportunity is building the confidence in her to be able to not transact more, but, have more confidence in her money and what she spends things on.
Yeah, it's funny, like, as the little humans grow and develop, like, seeing them own a little bit more of their independence, and I feel like it is our job as parents to, like, empower them and help them feel confident and safe while also, being just sort of a steward of good decision making. So tell me a little bit more about your kids. Like, so boba is very exciting to her.
Oh my gosh, for her, yes.
What else do they like to spend money on?
Oh, my son is obsessed with Five Nights at Freddy's. He calls it what? FNAF? He actually, for his birthday, he got most of the figures, and he was super excited about that. And we can't go into Five and Below very often because they have FNAF stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we have to teach him about responsible savings. Otherwise, he'd spend all his money on FNAF.
Yeah, it's funny because like locally here we have these. They're called the Cave. It's sort of like these. Yeah, I don't know. They're just a bunch of odds and ends. They have like vinyl and comic books and like a lot of collectors type of stuff. And so there's a location in Folsom, and every once in a while I'll just pop my head in there just to see if there's anything that catches my eye. And my older kid, he saw a Ghostbusters proton pack, like a full-size proton pack, and he had his eyes on it for months. And it was like in this very peculiar space where it was like behind a counter. It was on the top shelf. I was like, oh, that thing probably costs a lot, And there was some sort of like milestone. He was doing really good at school, and he was having like a lot of good behavior days in a row. So one weekend I was like, okay, like I'll call the Cave and I'll ask them and I'll see how much that proton pack is. It ended up being $100, and he had a little bit more than that saved up. That was like, we weren't going to miss it if he spent it. So it was so funny just to see his eyes light up, and like, just to walk around. Like he's kind of our like theater kid. He's always like playing dress up and stuff. And now he feels like he's got everything he needs to be a Ghostbuster, which is fun.
Sweet.
Yeah. So acknowledging that kids are very much driven by impulse, right? And sometimes they get very excited to spend money. It's really important that they're going to make mistakes along the way, right? Like there will be challenges in sort of navigating this new space and teaching them how to responsibly use money. What does an insider look at debit cards for kids kind of reveal in how we support our kids and our members as they're teaching their kids good money habits?
I feel like getting that bank account and then having access to online banking just brings about more visibility into what your child has. It brings more visibility into how much money they have. They're not constantly, like I said earlier, my son constantly counting out his money. How much do I have? How much do I have? Like, that's not a question. You can go into online banking and you can see how much money you have. And I think having that added responsibility now of being responsible for a debit card is really important too. I feel like it adds that extra layer of just, I don't know, growth for them. My kids definitely felt like big kids getting their debit card and being able to use it, being able to log into online banking and seeing how much money. We sign them up for Perfect Cents. So even if they're not putting money aside, when they're actually using their card, it's rounding up that transaction at the end of the day and moving that cents over to their savings account so they can slowly see their savings grow, which is important tools and things to teach kids early on is, yes, having conscientious and good spending is important, but also on the flip side, making sure that you're saving and putting things aside for your future is important too.
Yeah, that's a great call out, the sort of like perfect sense feature on the checking savings combo because yeah, like even when I'm talking to folks just out in the community, I'm like, it's basically a digital piggy bank. Like you're gonna make your purchases as you would normally. At the end of the day, right, we'll round up the change that was in between there and the next whole dollar, and it goes into your savings account. And I think that also speaks to when it comes to like instilling um, good habits with kids, like they very much do work on like incentives and rewards. So it's nice for them to like as they're navigating these transactions and getting familiar with how their bank account works, to also sort of see that incentive of like, oh yeah, I'm building up my savings account too, which is just so important. Like we've everybody's got different buckets for how their money goes. You've got your spending, your saving, maybe some other extra stuff on the side, and I think it's important for kids to kind of recognize that like you don't just spend every dollar you make, right? And so it's nice to have some of those features that are a bit more intuitive and kind of like just make it so it's not even a thought. It's just sort of it just happens as you're going out and interacting with your money.
And I think more visibility, just naturally, you start to have more conversations. So it just, uh, as an adult, you can see your kids' money now. So
Yeah.
just naturally, you're having more conversations about money and making sure we're responsible on savings. And I had mentioned my son likes Five Nights at Freddy's and those characters, and he got a good amount of characters for his birthday. But there was one that comes with like some security desk or something that he didn't get. And my husband was like, "Well, it's $50. So you if that's something you really want, then you need to save."
Yeah.
So just like the importance of now he can see how much he has. He has a goal. He wants to have
There you
$50
go.
and then working towards that and not having to sit on his bedroom floor
Yeah.
and count money, constantly each time to determine where he's at. And it makes it nice for my husband and I as parents because yes, they have their own access to their online banking and they can log in and just see their relationship. But when my husband and I log in, now we can see our kids' checking account and we can see their savings account and we're able to transfer money if we need to, or I think allowance now is a bigger thing, especially with my kids getting a little older.
Yeah.
So we're having to be a little bit more consistent with allowance because they ask for money a lot. But just making sure they get their chores done and, oh, your chores are done. Let me just transfer you some money. It just makes it a lot easier than having to plan a time to go to go to an ATM machine or go to the bank and get cash. It just makes life a lot simpler to just be able to transfer that to their bank account.
Yeah, watch. Hopefully he takes good care of the Five Nights at Freddy's stuff because 30, 40 years from now, if he's still got it.
And they're like legit nice action figures too. I think my husband had to find one from like a collector who was
Oh,
selling them
wow.
separately. So yeah, no, we'll see. I don't think he'll get rid of them though. He is a collector. He does not get rid of anything.
Yeah, well, it's just really strange. Like the older we get is like I've seen like a resurgence and people getting excited about Pokemon cards and like trading cards are a big deal. And to me, it doesn't make any sense. Like it doesn't hold any value to me, but there is certainly a segment of the population that like it's its own marketplace. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to teach my kids is like when you buy something with your own money, treat it nicely because they tend to just, yeah, they're rough with their stuff.
We're also I know we have talked about Five and Below, and as much as I like going to Five and Below on occasion, unfortunately my daughter got something there that within the next day it like broke, and it was like, well, we did go to a place that sells things for $5 and less.
Yeah.
There's a value in saving your money and getting something a little bit better quality. Yes, you're able to feed what you want now by getting that thing that's only $5. But had she saved, she could have had something that lasted a little longer than a
Yeah.
day.
What a great conversation. That's such a good learning opportunity, too. When we put this episode out, I'm really hoping that it appeals to our target audience of, parents of young kids or maybe middle schoolers, teenagers, young adults. So just tell us a little bit more. What are your final thoughts on like how can these types of tools help parents teach their kids about smart money management?
I mean, going back to what we've already talked about, I feel like it triggers that conversation about finances and how the kids can handle their own finances, and it's an earlier conversation. I think the first conversation I had with my mom, I got my job, I got my first paycheck at 16, and we went to the bank account and opened it and deposited it. And had I had the opportunity to start a little bit earlier, I think I would have been able to learn a little bit more than like, here's here we are. And then I had to get an auto loan at the same time because I had to get my own car. So there were just like a lot of things that were just put on me at 16 to learn. And I feel like this is just a slower progression, and it allows parents the opportunity to have those conversations and have hopefully an easier time bringing them up and discussing, because now you have access to their account. You're able to see it in real time. They now have a debit card that they're responsible for. So I just feel like naturally those conversations will start being had with kids, and it'll just encourage them to be a little bit more conscientious of things that they do.
Excellent. All right. So before I let you go, I do want to do a callback to our first episode together. You mentioned the Rockland Community Theater.
Oh, yeah.
Is there anything exciting or coming up on the horizon with the theater?
Yeah, I mean, they have a few things coming up. They're doing a play called Urinetown. I think that'll be in July. I've never heard of it before, but it's supposed to be really good. And then my kids are in a few workshops. They're doing Winnie the Pooh Jr., and then there's another workshop, which is the Music Man Jr. So we're excited about that. I don't think they've announced yet what their winter show will be, which is typically their big one where they have adults and stuff.
Have y'all seen any shows at the Performing Arts Center? The Safe Credit Union Performing Arts Center?
We have, yeah. I think actually I watched them before it was Safe Credit Union Performing Arts, but I've been there before, yeah.
But not recently.
No, not recently.
Okay,
no.
See, it's funny because like I had seen a production of Cats before COVID and the naming and all that stuff. And then since then, like that's kind of my wife and I's favorite date night is we'll sort of like send the kids to the grandparents, we'll go see a show. And the next one coming out, I think, is like all Alicia Keys songs. So I'm kind of stoked for that. I'm hoping to get tickets to that.
Okay. We've got season tickets. My husband got it for my birthday to I forget what it's called, but maybe HP Pavilion, the Circle Theater.
Oh, yeah. The Music Circus.
Yeah.
So fun.
So I love that. I've seen a few things there that I've seen on a stage, like a standard stage, and then seeing it, like how they do it on the Circle Theater is actually pretty neat. We saw, what was it? Jesus Christ Superstar.
Oh, nice. Classic.
Super good. Super good. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's an absolute pleasure to have you back, Marcie. Thank you so much for your candor and your engagement in this conversation. Any final thoughts you want to share with our audience before we sign off?
I mean, I feel like get your kid a checking account and a debit card. Like, start teaching them early about their finances. Now's the time. Start talking to them now so that by the time they're an adults, they understand how to spend and how to spend responsibly and feel comfortable doing it. So
awesome.
Or savings. Savings responsibly.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Marcie. Appreciate your time.
Awesome. Thank you.
If you'd like to learn more about SAFE products and services and how we can help you, visit our website at safecu.org and schedule an appointment with one of our professional experts today. SAFE is federally insured by NCUA and is an equal housing opportunity lender. The purpose of this podcast is to educate and inform on topics surrounding financial well-being. This podcast does not constitute financial, tax, or legal advice and may not apply to your individual situation. You should consult with your own financial, tax, or legal advisor for specific information pertaining to your individual situation. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the participants expressing them and do not necessarily reflect those of Safe Credit Union or any of its officials.